My name is Krystal Speck and I'm a ceramic artist living and working in Hamilton, Ontario. Most people come to ceramics first by either hand building or throwing on the potter's wheel. And I started that way too, but the way that I make my work now, specifically my functional pottery, is by slip casting and mold making. So that's a process that is usually used in an industrial setting, but I do it on a much smaller scale. I find it's a pretty organic process, and I'm obviously a very small scale maker, so it's nice that I can make those choices without really any kind of danger of messing up my making process. I tend to find that I'm a bit practical, obviously, with the functional work that I do. If customers are asking for a certain form that I feel I'm done with, I bring it back because I'm going to give it another chance. I'm going to try to see it through their eyes. I think for me, the forms are always a bit more simple and pure, and it's the surface design that I might choose to retire, just because the forms are like that kind of simple backdrop for those patterns to live on. So most commonly, if I'm doing a craft show or an exhibition, people will ask how long does each piece take? And that's a really hard question to answer. I would say making a model might take a day, making a mold might take another day, plus 7 days to cure, and then that whole casting the mold, bisque firing, glazing, glaze firing, that whole process. If I had to do it in a crunch time, I would need at least 2 to 3 weeks, but usually I would take sometimes months to do that process. I would say I'm actually pretty romantic and I'm pretty nostalgic, so I'm always kind of looking to vintage things for inspiration. I'm also a bit stubborn, so I think that's why I came to ceramics too. It was so challenging in the beginning and I couldn't get it right, and everyone's projects were failing, but I was so stubborn that I had to try to master it, which makes no sense because you cannot master ceramics in one lifetime, but I was compelled to keep going and figure it out. So I have the functional pottery and then the sculptural work too. I think in both of those lines of work, I'm trying to obviously bring beauty into the world and into people's lives. If it's a mug or a cup or a bowl, I'm hoping to bring that into your home in an everyday kind of way. My favorite thing about what I do and about my work is that I can set out with an intention and complete a piece, and then it can be completely different from what I expected, but that piece can basically teach me a new way of making my work. So you can start out thinking it's going to turn out one way, it completely doesn't, but you absolutely love it. So it's the work is constantly evolving, it's constantly changing how I feel about the work, and I love that that's kind of an aspect that I don't have total control over. The clay informs you, so you're kind of bowing down to it, and it's kind of saying, okay, you need to use me in the following ways, and that's it. But that's also the worst part about clay, is that you can have an intention and it will just not agree with it and your piece will be ruined. So anytime you're trying to push the boundaries of the material, that can be really exciting, or it can completely turn around and teach you a lesson, and it can be a total flop. I feel like I just want to, in a subtle way, make my mark on how people live their lives too. It's nice to think that I'm making something that I find really beautiful and sweet, and someone else is agreeing with me and then taking that and bringing it into their everyday life. So anytime you're in the studio and you're making away and you're on a deadline and you're feeling stressed, it's nice to think that you've already made all this work that is being enjoyed, hopefully. It's just nice to think of the lives that your pieces have after you've made them and they go out into the world.